And I want to welcome the team from India, from the Banyan organization that have, that when we're here with Pina, Noble, and Rita, who have also worked with them. And they're going to be doing, the team of India is going to do a presentation. I'll let Pina maybe present them a little if it's necessary. And then they'll have 20 minutes of the Indian team, 20 minutes with a conversation with Pina, Rita, and Noble, and then we'll open the discussion for everybody to participate. So remember to keep your mics closed, but you're welcome to keep your cameras on. And thank you very much to this team of 6 people that are joining us to share their experience in India. And we're very happy to have you with us. So I hand you the word, and whenever you want to, no one's coming in. I have one more joining. I'll keep admitting people if anybody, if you want to wait a little, or I think we already have, we have 38 participants. And so the word is yours. And whenever you want to begin, you're very welcome.
Should we start? Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, Claudia. So I, hand over the mic to Pina to introduce all of us from the Banyan in India. Thank you, Pina.
Well, I think you can introduce you. I can just introduce my sympathy for the experience that I had with you all. And their Vandana, Lakshmi, Kirtana,
Nandini.
Vandani. And they are going to share with all of us their experience together with Rita Nobel. The three of us were organizing a training open dialogue course in Chennai in this organization, the Banyan. And so now I'm really curious to listen your introduction to the webinar. Thank you.
Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a small film, and then we have Nandini, who's going to talk about her experience at the Banyan and so on. So this is a small video that I'm going to try and play, and I hope it works. There we are. What happened? You click it again. You click this button. Which one? Here it is, the film. Just a minute. Here is a film, Banyan, Idva. Yeah. Just go to the slide. Where's the slide? One second. Stop share.
Just give us a few seconds. Seems like there's a small glitch.
Where is the slide?
This one, right?
Here it is.
Yeah. Just click it once and go.
We don't see anything.
Oh,
No, we're not seeing an image.
How do we do that?
We ask the technical. Let's
Just
see.
a minute. How is that?
If you need help, I can ask the IT.
Can you see it now?
Now you're like not sharing.
No.
no.
But we don't see
Maybe you can
Hello,
send the link.
Bandana.
it.
You can share your screen again, but this time you can choose the window that has the video.
We'll just copy there. Yeah, just a minute.
Hello, Bandana. This time you can share the screen again, but choose the window that has the video on it, okay?
Thank you.
Bandana, can you share the link here in the chat?
No stress. Don't worry. We'll get there. It's as if it's not sharing the Vandana. It's as if it's not sharing. Let me see.
Next. Can you hear
So-
us? Yeah.
So can you hear us now?
Yes.
ஒரு முறை சிரிச்சு காட்டுங்க சிரிச்சு காட்டுங்க
Could you pause this?
சிரிச்சா நோய் போகுதுன்னு சயின்ஸ் சொல்லுதுங்க கொஞ்சம் சிரிச்சு காட்டுங்க நோயை விரட்டி அடிங்க நோயை விரட்டி அடிங்க
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry about the tech glitch. For those of you who couldn't hear it, we're going to email you the video. But I think the emotion behind it pretty much was palpable. So many of us would have picked up the emotion behind it. And you'd hear it firsthand really from Nandini as we speak with her and understand a little more about her journey. Yeah, but we'll email you the video.
Yeah. Over to Nandini. Yeah. Yes. Nandini, you want? Yeah.
So, introduce yourself, Nandini.
I'm Nandini. I have completed my I am Nandini. I have completed my BCA BEd.
Fantastic. So, Nandini, how did you come to the
Little
Banyan?
louder.
Just relax and speak to me.
I was having a bad childhood and I came out of my house and went to Kerala. From that, due to my language problem, I came to Core VCRC.
Can you hear us?
No, little.
No.
She can
I
come
think-
a little forward.
Okay.
Yeah, a little more
Yeah.
nearer. Yeah.
Sit here. Sit. Perfect.
So what we're doing now is Nandini is a mental health service user at the Banyan, and we're trying to understand the journey of the Banyan through Nandini's eyes, following the film, right? So Nandini, once again, if you can just tell us how you came to the Banyan and a little bit about yourself.
I am Nandini. I have completed my BCA BEd. I was having a bad childhood, so that I came out of my house to Kerala due to language problem. From there, I came to Kolam ECRC.
Okay. And after a while, we saw you. I mean, every time I have seen you, I've seen the need for you to reach out to the others around you who are in distress, right? So, what exactly did you do when you were in Kovalam ECRC?
When I was with my family, everybody thought me, seen the eyes of mental illness. After I'm coming to call ECRC, everybody thought me as a friend. They give me a moral support. They taken me, they give me a moral support. They take me as a friend. They given me, I have got a nice case manager review. I have got a nice support with my Kitana, Vandana, Lakshmi Shankaran. From their support, I got nice employment. Now I got a nice financial support. In future, I have an idea of doing my MSW.
So, a master's in social work.
Master in social work, psychiatric and
Medical and psychiatric.
medical and
social work.
psychiatric social work.
So what were the things that you felt are most important in through the process of recovery? I mean, you mentioned employment. You mentioned looking at a person not just for the identity of a person as a mental health user, but that you're a person who's a friend to others. You're a person who's a support to others. You're a pure advocate. So the shift in your social role was on the one hand, and your livelihoods facilitation, therefore self-reliance, was on the other hand,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So what do you think helps towards one's recovery? These are two things you've mentioned, but anything else? One message that you want to leave behind?
After I got a recovery, I got a social entitlement. By that, I proved as a nice citizen by putting a vote in elections. And after I got nice employment, I take my independent living. After taking independent living, I also surveyed my life like others. After that, I decided to do my higher educations. I like to do cooking, so I like to start a YouTube channel. Like that ideas and all I'm having.
Fantastic. So what is most important you feel is the ability to have choice and agency. So you're able to find your path. And your path is that you want to support others. Your part is that you want citizenship rights and therefore you voted. Your part is that you want skills and livelihoods and your own monies that you can access and therefore live your own life independently, like you said, in your house. And most importantly, your path is also a dream of starting a YouTube channel where you're able to fan your passion. Yeah?
Sure.
Fabulous. So Nandini feels that these essentials are very important for her recovery. And I think this combined with the film somewhat sort of speaks about the culture that the Banyan really fosters. We'll move to Lakshmi, where she'll talk about a particular client that both Lakshmi and Kirtana worked with as part of their open dialogue exercise. And then I'll sort of try and summarize the whole thing and also chat a little bit about how we got to meet Peena, why open dialogue, why all the way in India, why at the Banyan. We'll do a little bit of that right at the end.
Yes. Should we share? You can just discuss.
I'll just.
Okay, so just to say that Kirtana and I were part of the batches where we were taught by Peena and her team on the open dialogue. And we thought we'll reflect on one small case that Kirtana will read out. And we'll try and understand how the OD principles fits into the way we work. Yes, go for it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
hi.
So, keep talking. I'm looking for the. Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, Mr. R is a 37-year-old man who hails from a lower economic status and who has faced series of critical events in his life. Like at an early age, he lost his mother, he lost his father, and faced series of abuse in his life. And as a result of that, though he went abroad for his job, he was not able to sustain, and loss of job and alcoholism, all that led to homelessness. And when he accessed our Banyan services, all these life events were pulling him down. And as Lakshmi said, we initiated open dialogue sessions with him, and these open dialogue sessions really helped both the care team and also Mr. R to reflect about the journey where initially it was difficult for Mr. R to really get along with others, or had difficulty with sustaining relationships and all those things. But then this OD and the support network really helped him, because initially what happened is we brought in the family. Because Mr. R was very comfortable having the family as part of the support network, and we brought in the family, and the family also, in a sense, they were able to understand each one's voice. For the first time, the family and Mr. R were able to understand and reflect about each one's voice. And as a part of that, what happened is slowly support network expanded. At one point of time, it's not only about the family of origin, but there were other group of people who came forward to support him. So there were so many other people, like the admin staff over there in the organization, the other care team members, and also different profile of people who came forward to help him, and the whole process became therapeutic. And that is when we also understood that it's not just about the family or sessions within the four walls. When the process is dialogic, the entire the environment becomes therapeutic, and that really helped. Yes.
Revenge has no expiry date. I'll revenge when I'm ready.
Oh dear. I think what we will do is Kirtana and I will discuss the case as practitioners on the OD principles.
I'm in class.
Okay, I've muted. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Claudia. So one of the things is that that we discovered while working with, we applied this on a few cases, is often a social network, creating a natural social network appears to be difficult, because one of the OD principles that we learned is how social network is important. And for our clients, the pre-existing conflict, the difficulty presents, challenges for them to sort of initially start, whether it could be family or friends, the local community. And often we discover that the family is a source of conflict, you see. So that was something that we learned as practitioners. Keith and I want to say something about that.
Even initially here in this particular scenario, initially the family was part of the support network, but then when we understood that family as a source of conflict, that is when we thought about the other support networks, support networks of the particular user's choice. And that is when we thought about having formed families, having their own network groups, and that really helped. So it's not only about the family, but also how the other members in the community, how other members in the workplace or the organization really helps a person.
Yes, and I just want to add that again, as practitioners, Kirtana, that one thing that we learned is that we bring in the dialogue into the treatment room. And somehow for us, our experience is that the clients expect us to be directive in a way. You tell us what to do about medication, or how do I resolve this problem or this conflict. And this idea of having a dialogue is something new, you see. So just that whole idea of having many voices, a diversity, as we call it, polyphony, it takes time for the clients to get into the groove, to understand. It's about saying, you tell me what to do, and then saying, let's all discuss what we can do together. So that is something that I think, I learned as a practitioner, that it takes some time to, get the responsibility. Now, whose responsibility is this to move ahead? If I'm stuck, how does this work? So that is something that is a constant question. But somehow, also for the clients, the way the Banyan works, it's with the ultra poor, with people who come from very difficult, challenging backgrounds, and the luxury of time coming back for follow-ups, coming back, with the same situation is difficult. So it's about, can I fix it now? You see. So Kirtana, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
I want a remedy now.
Yeah, because here, as said, the families come from a very vulnerable background, very difficult life circumstances, and they don't have that kind of a privilege to come like 4 or 5 or 6 times and to spend, an hour or so with the therapist, because they don't have that kind of a privilege. For them, they need an immediate solution, because they don't have the time and the energy to come for multiple sessions, and that's because of the difficult circumstances they come from. So many a time they expect us to be directive and discuss on what needs to be done next.
But having said that, I also learned, I think we also learned that when the client moved into a different phase. It could be a home again. The sense of responsibility happens. For example, the way Nandini shared, moving into a different space, a different home, having a job, having employment, running a house, I'm able to vote, I have a bank account. I think the sense of responsibility evolves over time. And I think that is a beautiful understanding for us. I mean, while initially it seems overwhelming, how does this work in practice? I think as practitioners, I guess it's about being patient and really waiting for these ideas to evolve. Isn't it true?
True. And as said, having the dialogue or having the space for these dialogues, help them to have their own formed funds. That is what Nandini was talking about, having her own support network, that developed during the course of time, having her own friends, having her own bonding with those people, that really helped.
It's the space for the non-biological family. The people who are not related to me, but people who are very close to me. It could be my roommate, it could be the shopkeeper, it could be the bank, it can be my case manager, it could be the people I meet at the beach. The important idea of what is a support network is, I think, culturally very, very contextual, especially the way the Banyan works. I think that's a beautiful way. I felt how open dialogue can fit into these, into different bits. It sort of transforms itself in different ways, in different phases of the client's life. So I'm just wondering if Vandana do you want to add something, Vandana? Yes. Yes.
Hi.
So just a second, Anbu, I'll just wrap this up and then we'll come back. Yeah. So, so if you're looking at the flow of how we went about things, we wanted to just start with giving you a sort of feel of who we are. And sure, there's us sitting here, but if you had visuals of some of our work and our context, we thought it would sort of be a better idea. And therefore the film, which we will also email to you. From there, we wanted to bring it down to the person around whom all our work is centered. I mean, our purpose is really the person. And therefore our conversation with our friend, from whom we've learned a lot in terms of what personal recovery means, in terms of what agency means, in terms of what dialogic practice means, just as we have from Pina and our other colleagues. So it's therefore co-production of knowledge that we've often focused on. From where we moved to a practice-based experience of what really happened in the case of a particular person, and how open dialogue panned out in the Indian context. What I am going to do now very briefly is to go therefore again to the macro and focus on how we got started really. So when Pina and I were speaking about open dialogue, I mean, we have a previous sort of collaboration from the Trieste network, because in terms of the democratic practice and principles around which our care has evolved over the years, there's a lot of similarity between the Trieste approach to care and the Banyan approach to care, both of which really are centered around participation, agency, interdependence, and the process really of sort of being and dialogue. So it was intuitively already in our DNA that a dialogic practice is certainly one of the pivots of what anything that is even remotely democratic would stand for. And when we got talking, that's when we sort of invited Pina, and from her I learned, and she's one of the best teachers that one could hope for, because she stimulates your thinking. So thanks, Pina, for that. But what we learned really was the most important things, I have 6 things to state that really sort of grounded the culture of open dialogue and its values and principles within the Banyan ecosystem, and in some ways reinforced what we were doing already and gave it a somewhat greater, more sort of formal structure, in some ways also validated it. Yeah, as much as they were concerned. So the first is really to respond to expressed needs, and the principles that Lakshmi and Kirtana spoke about and Nandini earlier spoke about around not really being sort of focused on fixing things, not really being focused on finding snap solutions, not really focused on being interventional and just parachuting in and showing up with interventions, but just focused on being there, on active listening. And with that comes obviously a sense of responsibility and a culture of responsibility. And alongside that, certainly the principle of being there for the most distress and need of immediate help. Now, in the case of the Banyan, we work with persons homeless, persons from ultra vulnerable backgrounds, such as those belonging to indigenous communities, so tribal communities, and persons who belong to those who live below the poverty line, so those who live on $1 or lesser. In these communities, the structural and the systemic barriers are very, very significant, whether it's caste, gender, or class related. And therefore, the need to immediately respond, to feel responsible and accountable for a fellow citizen is important. So responding to express needs is what has led us through the journey of starting out with outreach services, to building the whole culture of providing emergency and acute services when needed, to ensuring that we're able to facilitate livelihood skills and citizenship rights, to ensuring that there is an inclusive living culture if there is a person who continues to live with severe disability. And in the absence of that, to make sure that there is a culture of independent living, focused on interdependence when required. So moving from that really to the second point, that is, where is this? So sure, there's responsibility, sure, there's immediate help, but where does it happen? It doesn't happen really in the clinic. It happens where the person needs help. So it happens in the house. It happens in communities. And I think that was really the game changer for us, that therapeutic practice and alliances could be fostered and built in the community. And therefore, I come to the third point. The networks obviously are drawn from the community, as Lakshmi and Kirtana and Nandini mentioned. So you have, in our case, local self-governance and therefore panchayats, which is really the level of governance that engages in facilitation of livelihoods and social capital from a political ecosystem point of view, or maybe pets, or maybe formed families like they spoke about, or in some cases, of course, one's own family of origin. So life really was the landscape, not the clinic, right? Which moves to one of the most important points and principles that resonated with us, that is that of cultural specificity. In the Indian context, we're very used to groups. So the process of healing, the process of worship, the process of spirituality, the process of festivals, much of that happens in groups. So it's a sort of an intuitive thing for us to operate in groups, resolve in groups, and work in groups. And therefore, the idea of open dialogue and the whole network just simply slid into our system quite easily, which results in my fourth point, that the principle of the Banyan is really to be person-centered. And therefore, as much as people talk about standardization and fidelity to protocols, equally they talk about uniqueness of each person. And therefore, the response is unique. And that person-centeredness, obviously, as a result of dialogues that are very unique to people and speak to people's contexts, cultures, problems, strengths, resulted in reinforcing the person-centered practice. And finally, I think the process of the last 2 points, the process of reflection, I feel that that's a great way to break down hierarchies. So it's a flat system. Unfortunately, because our society, like most of the societies, is bound and restricted and limited because of caste, is restricted because of other systemic barriers that could discriminate on the basis of gender and class, or maybe in some other context on the basis of race, right, and social capital. Having a conversation where there is opportunity for polyphony and every voice is critical and diverse perspectives are shared and every perspective is of relevance and importance and there's nobody derided, that is a huge win for the Indian ecosystem and the Indian mental health service users and the Indian practitioners. So it is much more, the interaction is much more flat and provides the impetus and the opportunity for people to dream of a world that is different from a world where there is a hand-me-down culture of there is this care and this therapy and it's offered in the form of this intervention and I really have to accept it and have no other option. So that worked really beautifully for us in breaking down hierarchies. And finally, at a very higher governance level in bringing about ecosystem changes, not just did opening up dialogues help our organization to focus on co-production of knowledge and therefore, through our service user-led quality audits and through dialogues to make sure that we were able to arrive at what really spoke to the person. But at the level of the government, we were able to speak with multiple state governments and multiple local governments and talk really about the essentiality of mental health care by ensuring that there were multiple stakeholders who were part of the pool and that there were multiple voices that would sort of feed into the discussion, all focused on a common shared value of respect for another, distress alleviation, concern for another, and collaborative spirit of working with each other, but at the same time, throwing in the uncertainty, throwing in maybe a little bit of conflict. So it wasn't all, conversation that flowed freely and was beautiful and ended beautifully, but it certainly was conversation that was elevating because we were talking about a problem of a higher order that affected society. Multiple voices were respected and heard, and solutions to complex problems were thought of using dialogic practice, taking into account diverse perspectives and stances. So for me, therefore, and for the Banyan, open dialogue was a way of life, not just in our culture and organizational build-up and in therapeutic practice, but also in governance and in advocacy to bridge care gaps in our society. And I think we'd like to sort of end with that. Dr. Anbu, if you have some comments, and then we should move on to Pina and Nubel and Rita for their inputs.
So good evening, everyone. Pina and everybody else, Vanna and Kitana, Nandini. I just want to, you've all really covered the ground much, but I think I should again reiterate that Banyan has, informally and intuitively, organically has, followed open dialogue sort of thing. It's kind of discovering ourselves and also getting this, but yes, getting a more structure. So here again, the Indian context of family, group, and community. So what I think is a very important difference that open dialogue system, contributes or facilitates is that the hierarchy sometimes, and some lone voices or a few voices can be very loud, as you said, either due to patriarchy, gender, caste, class, education, language, right? The language that you speak, the way you speak, all these things, and urban, rural, all that. But here, what I must, especially with Pina, and we were the lucky batch to have the actual practical demonstration. So we could see how hierarchies could be gently evened out. Otherwise you're either left holding, looking at, oh my God, how do we tell this person? Or it becomes a, fight, kind of outright argument. So I found that open dialogue has a very gentle, very graceful way of evening out the power and the voices. And it gave us verbal handles, concepts, which you can hold on to keep the conversation afloat and keep the direction, instead of become a tumultuous, thing, and for reflection to be part of the process right there, where you can get a breather and, even if you're, stuck, your co-therapist is able to rescue and say, hey, I think it's time for us to, reflect. And the structure itself beautifully allows you to come into that space. It's a kind of a magic space. It's a kind of a, like we have a temple, sanctum sanctorum. You can't barge in there. So like that, the people who want to, especially co-therapists, can discuss, and nothing about them, about us as in we consumers, without them. So they can see what is happening. They can see the inner dialogue coming out between them and what are the dynamics and all that. And again, they get a chance to this thing. So, and one thing that I am even more enthused about is that, I mean, the way I see it's come from Finnish to Italian and now to English, both UK, US and India. But my thing would be, and our team's brief would be to take it to the vernacular, subaltern, not just to people who are qualified, not only to people who are articulate in some majoritarian language, but also our own consumers, our clients, our community members. So I'm saying I'm there and I'm seeking help also to get trained better in this so that I can take it out. And I'm not only saying about clinical work, but also, like you said, about community work, where people can become a little more domineering and subdued and those kind of dynamics. So open dialogue, I'm looking at as a kind of a like a Superman, a super way of dealing with it without really fighting, but yet getting conflicts aired without anybody getting hurt, and yet coming to some resolution. To put it very briefly, dialogue and open. I think that's what I would like to say.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ambu Dorai. I just wanted to remind you that it's we have a little bit under 15 minutes, just so you all know. And thank you.
Yes, please, Nobel and Rita, if you want to share some comments, maybe we can find some time for the others.
Yeah, can I say something? Okay, I'm a Noble. Noble is my English name, and I'm coming from Japan. And I'm a open dialogue trainer, and I was going to India with Pina only once, and after that, I'm going to this Zoom online program of Indian course of open dialogue practitioner foundation course, and I thought this is a wonderful situation, like a wonderful chance to see many different people through the dialogue and dialogical training. Because of this kind of a COVID-19 situation, we cannot go directly to India, but this Zoom online meeting is a kind of a one good option to have a being dialogical. Of course, I wanted to go to the on-site Chennai, but this kind of in this kind of situation, even if we cannot go to India directly, we had a great dialogue with the different people and different culture through the different language. Of course, we are using English as a international language, but so many cultural things and difference was really polyphonical for me to be in the training course, and it was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Nobel. If I say something, only few words, but I had written something, but maybe I don't use it now. I am a psychiatrist and psychotherapist, family therapist, and yes, this being as a co-trainer in this training in India, it has been very nice and very meaningful experience for me. And I was beforehand, I was thinking how we overcome the physical and cultural distance, and how I could do that, because I feel India has come a bit closer to me after this working together with you. And well, I've just mentioned shortly that for me it was very meaningful to share the personal stories and also the trainees' autobiographical photos. And I think that helped me to overcome this cultural distance very much. But I lost some of the presentation, but I can share it. I can listen to it afterwards. So thank you very much of it.
From my side, just a very reflection. There is a sound.
There's an echo. There's an echo. Oh, okay. It's everybody.
Oh. So I think nothing. So it's just me or is everybody?
No, I think
now it's better. Yes, just really very short. In the beginning, we had our 3 foundation course that we managed all together in Chennai. The first was in presence, the second half, and now 2, 1.5 online. Just a general consideration, of course, the difference of culture are very challenging, but also very, very interesting. And this idea of different hierarchy that Vandana and Ambu said was one of the challenge, because of course, connected with the different idea of hierarchy, there is, from my point of view, a different idea of dialogue. And so we are still managing this kind of ideas, this kind of confrontation. And the other point is that because I'm teaching a few different plays with different ideas of the institution also, where there is already an idea of the organization as a community-based organization, going in the house of the people, democratic human rights, is much more simple to get the point, to get the contents. Because of course open dialogue has two lines. One is the psychotherapeutic approach, and the other one is the organizational change that is fundamental. And sometimes when I go in places where the organization is not so already oriented in the same principles of the open dialogue, became quite difficult, and the risk is that only the psychotherapeutic side is get, and the organizational side is a bit left behind. So I think it's important to underline how fundamental it is to keep the whole 7 principles, not just a few of them, if really people doing the training wants to change their system, their organization. I'm sorry that is left just 5 minutes. I don't know, Claudia, what do you think, if there is time for a few questions, or someone else want to add something?
Yeah, we have 5 minutes, so maybe 1 or 2 questions, but it closes, well, 4 minutes now. I'm sorry about this, but you can remember, you have the after hours, you have the emails, the chats, you can contact, but if somebody wants to do a last minute question, well, I would like to thank all of you because it was super interesting, so I don't get cut off and with this, but thank you so much, all of you, everything you've done. And if there's a question, yeah, we still have 4 minutes, so if someone has a question, you're very welcome. And we'll have the presentations up in the platform, so people can see the movie and see your presentation again. It was very emotional, beautiful project. Well, reality. And well, it seems like, I don't know if anybody wants to add something, or
may I ask?
Yes, of course.
So I'm very, as I said, I'm very keen on taking this on an immediate footing to our, so in a way, the auxiliary staff. No, so we have a huge network of what we call the Nalam workers. So my question is, can we? I mean, right now we are ourselves in the form, in the process of learning and getting accustomed and this thing. So can we even now take it with them? Because really, to widen up the network, we'll have to work with them. So would it be too, difficult, or will it kind of be counterproductive to start out with working with them? Because the number of trained people who have certified, even first level and all that, they're very few. So can we kind of start training people like that, so that we start the format, this basic, the structure and the process, not to train it outside, but for our own team.
So is that someone wants to say something to end it, or?
Maybe it's too huge a question to answer.
But it's good food for thought, no? We can think about it.
So we will practice it without naming it as open dialogue. We would just use those techniques or those structures without formally naming it open dialogue. Maybe eventually we could come to that, and so possibly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, we're really, I'm really, it's hard to close the session because we could be here talking for a long time, but we have time restrictions. So thank all of you for participating. Thank you, all of you in India and Pina and Noble and thank you, Vandana. And I have a little bit of always difficulty with the names, but all of you who are presenting this, Vandana, Kirtana, Lashmi, and Rita and Pina and Noble, for your time and your dedication and for sharing all of this with us. And it was a pleasure to have you with us. So
Thank you to
see,
you all.
hope to see you around. Hope you continue to be here. Take care.
Thank you.
And see you soon. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.